Hi, I'm George Pearson, and in this Photoshop cleanup background video, we'll be cleaning all these people out of the background in here and going from this image over to this image, which I think is a lot more interesting, really focuses in on the portrait. Now if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and of course share. Don't forget to subscribe as well and click that bell icon so you get notifications of any new videos going up. You can support my channel through Patreon, and there's a Patreon link on my channel page. And take a look at my complete Photoshop training as well, and there's a link for that right down there in the description. Okay, let's get to it. Here's the original photograph, and if you want to work along with this, there's a link to download this and also to get my finished Photoshop file. You'll find that link down there in the description. The first thing we'll do here is to make a copy of the background layer. Just go ahead and drag it down to the new layer button. There's our copy, and then hide the original. This is because we'll be actually working on this image right here, and I don't want to damage my original, so I have this as a safety backup. Okay, we're on our copy layer. Now we'll be using two main tools to do this cleanup in here. The first one is the content aware fill, and the second one is the clone stamp tool, and we'll go back and forth with those. I'll try the content aware fill first, and anywhere where that works out great, we're fine. Anywhere where it doesn't work out so well, we'll switch over to the clone stamp tool. I'll start off here with the lasso tool, and this tends to work better if you do small sections at a time. So I'll just take this little section right there and then edit, fill, and here's the content aware fill. It's right there. If this is grayed out or you don't see it, then you don't have your selection in here. You don't have a closed selection. Once that's set, choose OK. Let it figure it out, and there we go. And actually did a pretty bad job on that one. So let's fix this section in here with the clone stamp tool instead. Clone stamp tool, there we go. It's a pretty small brush. I'm going to be using the right square bracket here, make the brush a bit larger. That's pretty good. And the larger the brush, the softer the edge if you're working with a soft brush. And I have my hardest hit here at 0. Just come over here someplace, hold the Alt key down, click on that spot to select that, and then move straight left and right on this. The reason I'm doing straight left and right from my spot is so that I keep my vertical perspective happening in here, kind of our distance perspective. Okay, pull to the left, and let's just do this a few times in here to get that working. Sometimes the content aware tool is great, sometimes it has some issues. So it's just a matter of choosing which one works out best at the time. Now you may need to come in here with the clone stamp and do some real small clone stamping like I'm doing right there, depending upon what you have in the image. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's just do a bit more of this up here. Not sure why it didn't like that spot, but there you go. Okay, that cleaned that out. Let's now try this up here. Again, we'll do the content aware fill right in there. Let's just back out just a little bit. Click and drag to the left. There we go. Easier to see how that fits into the picture now. Edit, come down to fill, content aware. It's still not working for some reason for me on this one. Not really sure why it doesn't want to do that. So let's just go ahead and back to the clone stamp. Again, sometimes you just have to do the clone stamp tool. Now it's a bit trickier up in here. That's why I wanted to use the content aware fill, because of that nice edge we have in the background. So because of that, we'll do the clone stamp. I'll go a lot smaller this time. And let's just kind of edge up into this. We'll get that content aware fill to work here for us at one of these spots. Okay, we're still on our clone stamp. There's somebody's head right here, so I'll come into the bushes, hold the Alt key down, and click, and then I'll bring that down. So because I'm using a small brush and a soft edge, it kind of mimics the softness of that area up there. Okay, now let's go ahead and we'll try the content aware fill again right in here. Edit, Fill, Content Aware Fill. I'm going to uncheck Color Adaptation, see if we get any better results. A little better right there. And then just deselect that. Still not great, but it's better. So we'll do this a couple more times. The reason I like this is it tends to be a bit more random than using the clone stamp tool, and that can help to make a better and less noticeable fill in here. Okay, now we have things working a bit nicer. Fill and content aware fill. That's pretty good. Okay, now we're cooking. All right, just continue on and do the content aware fill in just these little jumps like this. We'll then go back and clean up the edge, any edge cleanup that has to be done, using the clone stamp tool. Okay, we're up against an edge here. I'll do a clone stamp here. We have some duplication showing in there. Let's take care of that with a clone stamp as well. So, come right over here, right against this line, Alt and click, and just pull that straight over and use that to clean those out. And then Alt and click. Let's just get that one cleaned out right there. Let's get rid of this thing in here, whatever that is, a kind of sign in the background. I'll use this with a few little short clone stamp moves in here. So it comes in real random and doesn't look like it's been copied. Let's now grab this stuff on the left hand side, hold the space bar down, then just pull your picture over like that. This is a good spot right over here for the clone stamp tool. So let's come right in here someplace, and actually have some green bushes. I'll come over in here somewhere. I'll click on that line and match the line right there, and then let's just paint out that person. Okay, that looks good. Again, hold the space bar down. Let's now take care of these two people in here. Now there's a problem here because they're right in behind our foreground figures. This takes a little bit more work, although not too much. We'll just zoom in like that, nice and tight. And I'll switch over here to the polygonal lasso tool. Now make a selection out here right along the edge of our foreground figure, right where the pixels are changing from the foreground to the background. If it needs any cleanup, we can do that after we do our clone stamp in here. So just like that, and then come way out. There we are. And then finish up back down there at our beginning section. The reason I want way out is I want to keep my clone stamp inside of the selections. I don't have any problems showing that edge in there. Okay, hold the spacebar down and let's grab our clone stamp again. Now our head is right there, kind of right in against, there it is, right in against that line. So I'm going to grab a line over here, Alt and click, and let's get her head cleaned out first. There we are. And then come over here somewhere, Alt click, and let's get the body cleaned out and stay away from the edges. Okay, and then deselect. There's a little bit of a dark edge showing in there. We can take care of that and just paint that out. So let's grab our color picker in here and just grab some color right there, right next to that spot. That's fine. Grab the paintbrush, and then I'll use the left square bracket, bring the paintbrush way down. So I just have that background color in there and just a little bit of a paint right in here to kind of knock down that dark halo that we're seeing right in there. That's good. Okay. Do the exact same thing up here with these two people in the background. So back to the polygonal lasso tool. Again, come out quite a ways and make a nice careful selection right along that edge where you see the changing here, the pixels changing from foreground to background, and then way out further, and then way outside like that, and then back into your beginning spot. Back to our clone stamp. Get some bush right here. Alt click, and let's just quickly do that. And then here, kind of a dark area, so I'll just grab it up here somewhere and pull that in. That takes care of that, and a little bit right there. Let's move the picture over to the left just a bit. That's the space bar. And I'll grab some of this stuff right in here. Alt click right there, and let's just match up that line and paint that out. Okay, select, deselect. Let's go back to fit screen. Looks pretty good. I think we're okay on that. It's a little bit kind of bumpy in there. You see this is kind of a little bit bumpy. Let's take care of that. I think we can just quickly do a fast clone stamp just across some of those bumps. So I'll come right down below here and click and just kind of knock off a little bit of that bumpiness that I'm seeing in there. Maybe accurate, I don't know, but I'm not really happy with that. Okay, that's fine. Back to fit screen. Left side is done. Let's now do the right side. Same exact trick. We'll try the content aware fill first. If it doesn't work, then we'll switch over to the clone stamp tool. So edit and come down to, actually we need to make our selection first. Have to do the selection. There we go. I'll just do that. And then edit, fill, content aware fill, choose OK. Pretty good, but it's still copied a piece back into here. It actually copied from right there and put it over here. So it's not really doing a perfect job on this spot. So let's just switch over to the clone stamp tool. And let's make our size a lot bigger to make the match as clean as possible. That's pretty good. Alt click and then just come in and paint them out. We'll do this in just a few moves, as you can see in here. There we go. And do the same thing over here to the right hand side. A little bit of a mess up there. We'll take care of that in a bit. So just kind of working in, and you make your initial selection and work left to right. Now up here it's a little bit tricky because we're getting up against that tree line again, so that takes a bit of special work. And hold the space bar down. Now I think we can get this with just using a smaller brush. So left square bracket, there we go. Alt and click, and I think that's far enough away from our figure that we can manage that one. And yep, looks like we're okay. So it really is just a matter of being careful in here to make this work out. We'll come back to these figures right there in just a bit, and we'll clean this up in just a bit. But first, let's take care of this problem back in here. Now because the figures are pretty evenly spaced and there's not a whole lot of left and right area to copy, we can't really do that standard trick. It's not a very good spot for the content aware fill, which as you've seen works sometimes and doesn't work other times. So this time I'll just copy down here, clone stamp, and just paint this right up against that edge, and then just fake that edge in. Now it works here because the brush at this size, the softness of the edge of the brush is very close to the softness that's already there on that line. So there's the bottom part fixed. Let's just knock that off while we're at it over here, and a little bit right there. That will help. And then let's go ahead and come in here and then work down and get the top part done. So I'm copying the top stuff down and the bottom stuff up, and that allows us to do a pretty good clean on that. There's one little thing I need to fix, and that's this duplication right in there. So let's grab from someplace else and put a bit right here, and that solves that. Okay, that's all nice and clean. Space bar. Let's now fix this and that. We'll still use the clone stamp tool, and I'll choose a spot right there, right in the middle of that X shape on the fence. It's right there. Alt click, then I'll pull that over here and match that up with the fence on the other side, and then just paint in right from that location. And that should give us a nice cleanup. Just a little touch up right there. I kind of missed that one. Little Control Z, undo that. Okay, that's good. Same thing on the right hand side. I'll come over here. Let's just grab this one right there, right in the middle. Alt click, pull it over here to match the fence up, and then use that to clean up that other bit. Okay, there we go. Let's take a look at this, see how we've done. Fit screen. Alright, background's all nice and cleaned out. There's a little bit of stuff for people back in here, and that's fine. I'll leave them in there. I just didn't want them on the beach itself. Let's now select out our foreground figure so we can darken down the background and make this a more striking image. It'll also force the attention onto the foreground figure. Now for this, we'll go up to the Select menu and come down to Select and Mask. Now I like working with this with our top tool here first, right there. This is the standard quick selection tool. Then just come in here and begin painting right into the figure. Make sure you get those sunglasses as well. And let's just move along and let Photoshop figure out what should be in and what shouldn't be. And it's pretty good with this tool, especially if you have a nice separation like we do in here between our foreground and our background. And that's a pretty good match in there, but we're missing the hair up here. There's a problem right in here and a little bit right down there between the body and the arm. So to clean up some of these things, let's come down to the next tool down here. This is your Refine Edge Brush tool. Now mine is at 73 and it's on the plus, which adds into the mask, and that looks pretty good. And I'll just paint in here and we'll let Photoshop do whatever it does and figure out that edge. Now it's not always perfect. Luckily in our case it's not that critical because we're putting her right back on top of herself. So all I want is just to have it reasonably okay. If it's a little bit off, that's not going to really cause us any problems in this instance. Okay, that's not so good right there. I'll need to clean that up. This tool is not doing a good job for that shoulder. Everything else is looking okay. A little messy right back in here as well. So let's fix those on the layer mask. So let's take this and come down here, Output 2, New Layer with Layer Mask, choose OK. And there it is. There's a layer mask. We can see some of those spots in there. This is mostly hair. I'm not going to worry about that. That little bit, we can clean that up. Now the layer mask is right here. We're on the layer mask. Look for that white outline. Black hides, white shows. Foreground background is just fine. Here's our brush, and it's pretty small. I'll use the right square bracket to increase the brush size in here. That's pretty good. And that's black. And just kind of clean up some of this little stuff right in along the edge right there. Maybe a little bit of this stuff up in here. That should be okay. Now on the shoulder, a little bit hard to see that. Let's switch to white. And I'm just going to come right in along that edge right there. And we should be able to get that shoulder looking pretty good. If it goes a little bit dark on the very edge, that's fine. It will look very natural anyway. Okay, hold the spacebar down. And I'm just going to clear it down. It's a little bit soft on that edge. But again, we're putting her right back on top of herself. So that's going to help this out. Yeah, it's missing just a bit right there. Okay, that's fine. Spacebar, and let's get this little bit right down in here. For this, I'm going to go to the polygonal lasso tool, and let's just make a nice little selection right along this edge. And just take your time with this tool. If you click too fast, it's going to collapse the selection. You'll have to start over again. So breathe deeply, relax, and then just make a nice little selection. With this tool, you're doing a click and then you pull it, and Photoshop fills in the line. You can come outside if you want to. That's fine. And then back to our beginning point. There's our selection. Back to our tool. This is going to be a hide, so let's switch back to black and then just paint that in there. Looks good. Space bar and see if anything else is a problem in here. A little bit of a problem right there. We need to have the arm showing a bit better, so back to white. And then okay, we're on the right layer mask. And that should be fine. Let's go ahead and get this back out to fit on screen. There we go. Okay, looking good. Now if I bring the background back in again, notice everything fills in nicely in here because again she's right on top of herself, so anything we're missing on that will be just fine. Now we need to darken the background down, and we'll do that by clicking on our background, copy. This is the fixed layer in here. And let's put an adjustment layer right above that layer. So go up to Layer, come down to New Adjustment Layer, and Levels right here. Leave this unchecked, choose OK. Now in this one, black will stay the same, that's fine. White is fine. Just take your middle control here, the middle values, move that to the right hand side. Take a nice darkening in there, somewhere like that. You can go real dark if you want to, and it's kind of up to you where you want to go. I'll put in quite a ways so it looks like we have some vignetting happening around the outside edge. Now you may or may not get this, it depends upon your original photograph. If you don't have that, then you can add that vignetting in using camera adjustment there. I'll show you that in just a second. So let's just take it just a little bit further. Looks good. There we go. So if you don't have your vignetting, let's say that that's not showing for you, you can add vignetting in by going up here to Filter and come down to Lens Correction right here. Bring this one up, and you want this on Custom right there. And in Lens Correction Custom right down here you have Vignette, and you can add in a darkening vignette right there. And I'll just cancel that. Okay, let's now see how we did. Let's take our background layer, make a duplicate of this, drag it down here to the New Layer button, pull that on top of everything else. There it is, and hide the background again. So there's the original, and there is our cleaned up version. Original and cleaned up. So there you go. That's how to clean up a background. In this case, a lot of clone stamp work, and then a little bit of work here just to give this nice effect on this by darkening the background down, by separating our figure out onto a new layer. At this point, you can go back in and take a look at your clone stamping. I spend a little more time right around in here and get rid of some of this lightness in there. But just little tweaks at that point. Again, that's down here on your background copy. I'm going to show you just a little bit of that. Back to our clone stamp tool. Make a much larger brush size. Pretty good. And then Alt click and just a little bit of stuff in here to help blend that in a little bit better. Once you have a bit done, you can increase your brush size some more. There we go. And Alt, and then just pull that in. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good now up in that area. Much better match. Okay, there you go. That's how to clean out people out of a background and improve your image by darkening it down a little bit to help pull focus into your foreground subject. Now if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and click on share as well, and subscribe. You can help support my channel through Patreon. There's a link for that right on the channel page. And take a look at my complete training for Photoshop, and there's a link right down there in the description.